My name is Javi Trujillo, and I am the Flash fan. Welcome back to Up to Speed with Wally West. It's been quite a while. I think it's been 6 months. I apologize. I've been, obviously I want to get this out on a timely basis, hopefully on a bi-weekly basis at some point. Last 6 months have been busy. They've been challenging. Had a couple of setbacks. But we're back, and we're talking. It's a very special episode, probably going to be a very long episode. Brace yourselves, because this is the Flash Annual 1. And that's part of the reason why it's taken so long, because it is a longer issue, and it's very dense, and it's not my favorite comic. I'll just be upfront about that. So yeah, we're going to get into it, and hopefully have some more stuff to talk about soon. The Flash number 9 came out today. I think it was number 9. I picked it up. I enjoyed it, because obviously it's going to take us a while to get to the Cy Spurrier run on the show. I've been very cautious about it. There's a lot of... It's not the fun, optimistic ride that Jeremy Adams had us on. This is the mysterious, kind of somber, depressed ride that Cy Spurrier's been taking people on, but I think I see where he's going with it, or at least there's been enough where it's like starting to make me feel better about the run, because there's other things at work and at play, but that's for another day. Coming soon to the channel, going to have a review for this guy, the McFarlane Dawn of DC Wally West figure, so look for that. Might be up first before this episode, I'm not sure, but just check the YouTube feed for that. Yeah, so without further ado, we're going to get into today's comic book. And there goes my art. Because I haven't quite mounted it up yet. So, yeah, it's Scott Collins' preliminary that he did for someone's commission. So anyways, now that that distraction's over, we'll see if it makes the cut, or if I leave it in, or if I cut it. Anyways, The Flash Annual 1. Here's my copy. It's getting a little yellow on the insides from, age. But here we go. So, Flash facts. The Flash Annual 1 was released June 23rd of 1987 per Mike's Amazing World of Comics, which I was 10. So I did not get this off the rack when it came out, because that was about 2 years before I started a monthly comics habit. But that's when it came out. Credits are as follows. We have Mike Baron, writer, Jackson Geist, penciler, Larry Malstead, inker, Steve Haney, letterer, Carl Gafford, colorist, Mike Gold, editor, and of course, Wally West was created by John Broome and Carmine Infantino. So, getting you all up to speed. The issue is called Death Touch. So, welcome to the first all-new Flash Annual. This is after issue 4. That's when it dropped, just so you're aware. We're not going out of sequence. This was published between issue 4 and 5, which is odd for an annual, but we'll get more on that later. Wally goes to eat at the House of Hunan in New York, when suddenly his meal gets interrupted by armed robbers. He changes into the Flash to stop them. Without warning, one of the robbers gets a strange look on his face and seemingly drops dead. So Wally is understandably weirded out, while an employee simply replies, "Dim Mak, the Death Touch." Alright, so Flash catches the remaining robber, who tried to make a getaway, and consults with the police after, asking how the robber who fainted was. The officer has no clue. So Flash turns to the employee who mentioned this mysterious Dim Mak, who advises our hero to come with him. He introduces himself as Marshall Lau, Master of Healing, and it turns out it was he who saved the life of the collapsed robber. So Marshall Lau takes Wally to his home for tea and for talk. Wally gets too impatient because he's Wally West. But eventually he settles in and hears about Chi and negative Kung Masters. Lau tells Wally about the greatest of them all, the Wizened Sage. So there's a lot of backstory mythology that Baron's putting out right now. After explaining the overall history, Marshal Lau tells a more personal story, how he met the Wizened Sage once in his youth. So as it turns out, like, the sage handed him a silver dollar when he left for America and said, "Give it to a man dressed in red. It will come back to me." Who dresses in red? So the idea of predestination and luck comes up a lot here in this conversation, with the mention of Barry Allen and the incredible way that Wally got his powers. So one of the things about this scene is it's kind of funny to hear Wally talk about fate, because that's something he becomes more cynical about later on for a while, especially when we get, like, introduced to Max Mercury. That becomes a big subject, a big theme at that point in the book. But Wally does bring up his fortune cookie, to which Marshall retorts, "Ha! They are printed in a bakery in Hoboken owned by Italians." So I guess he's trying to say it's not very authentic. Wally then sleeps there for 12 hours, finding Marshal Lau to be gone. Wally heads home to his mansion in Long Island. He describes it thusly, quote, "My neighborhood smells rich, the smell of pine. Marshal Lau was right. I am lucky." End quote. So we're going to get back to that. Here's where things get weird, guys. Or girls, or whoever's watching, viewers, here's where it gets weird. So, as I mentioned at the top of the show, this issue came out between The Flash 4 and number 5, meaning that we just wrapped up the Kilgore arc and Wally's first meeting with Tina McGee. In issue 5, we're going to meet Tina's estranged husband, who is very much unhappy that she is seeing a superhero. Who would have thought? And this is the part where Peter Vera tells me Wally West, sleeps around with married women. I know, Pete. I know. He's not perfect. So, however, Tina's stuff aside, in this issue, Wally is greeted at home by Connie. She's a model from Texas that he's seen. Now, she'll become a recurring character later, but this issue is not their first meeting. At least that's as far as they're concerned. Like, they know each other. This seems to be our first meeting with her chronologically, but it doesn't quite fit in with everything, because yes, Wally is a dog in this era for sure, but we just had him with Frankie, and that immediately went to Tina, and all of a sudden we have Connie in between things. So I don't remember Connie's next appearance, to be honest, and I haven't researched it because I want to rediscover it chronologically and just see how it all plays together. Wally's narration here gets pretty cringe, with some definitely outdated views. And I'm assuming that Baron wanted to point out how immature and naive Wally was at the age of 20. But definitely modern sensibilities are going to be taken aback by some of Wally's viewpoints. Anyways, Mr. West goes east to Hong Kong and goes wandering around, asking locals where he can find the Wizened Sage. This leads him to getting jumped at one point, but he makes quick work of his would-be assailants. It's worth noting that he goes around as Wally, not in his Flash uniform. So eventually he comes to the right place, and I really loved Baron's dialogue here. It feels very hard-boiled, as Wally talks about the silver dollar he's supposed to return and how he's getting warmer and warmer. Wally sees a kid fighting an ogre of a man who is armed with nunchucks. Like, the guy is huge. Utilizing his chi, the kid somehow knocks his opponent down without laying a hand on him. Kind of force using, I guess. The attacker runs away, and Wally tosses the silver dollar to the kid, stating, "Wise and sage, I presume." So after collecting his things in the city, Wally and the sage head for the hills, where, quote, "the air smells of money, the smell of pine. The wise and sage lives in a palace." So, see what Mike Barron did there? He's bringing it all back. And again, that just adds to like the hard-boiled style of first-person narration dialogue that this Flash has become known for. Maybe not hard-boiled all the time, but the first-person narration's a key point of Wally West and his storyline. Now, there is a man already there at the palace waiting for Wise and Sage. The voice of the revolutionary spirit. Yeah, apparently that's his name. The description is just top-notch of what Wally's impression is of the man. The trio sit down for tea, with the voice requesting the sage serve the cause of international socialism, quote, "or we shall destroy you." Okay. The voice then breaks his teacup by looking at it. Let's see Ivan Drago do that. So voice pieces out. Wally asks how old the wise and sage is, to which the sage replies 640. This is his 11th extension, but he'll stop with his 12th. He tells Wally to go to sleep because his training begins in the morning. So again, the imagery is really strong as Wally dreams of a silver dollar just spinning endlessly in his sleep. So it's the 80s, right? Now we get a training montage because it's the 80s. So first, Wally has to learn how to stand. He says, "For 10 days I do nothing but stand, seeking to grasp the elusive bolus of energy Mike got." Now, I assume this is Wally being Wally, with his fabled impatience making 10 minutes feel like 10 days. But Wise and Sage states, "You have accomplished in 10 days what took me 7 years to master." So, I guess I'm wrong. That evening, a woman named Lin May serves dinner to Sage and Wally. She reminds Wally of Connie, but as he states, Connie is far away. It's over this dinner that Wally learns that Marshall Lau's son and daughter were captured and executed as a warning to others. That night, Wally tries to sleep, but Lin May joins him in bed. While Wally wonders what to do, he acquiesces because, quote, "This is not America, and I am only a man." Again, Wally's 20 and he's a dog. I don't apologize for him, but this is who he is, and this is part of his character growth that eventually we're going to get to. And also, I think in context of this scene, like comparing him to Barry, where it was Iris, Iris, Iris from the beginning, and then Iris died, and then he's got Fiona. But Barry was more of a one-woman kind of guy, and this is kind of not just his immaturity, but in some ways I think maybe Wally is kind of rebelling against that, against what he is expected to be, his expectations. Especially because Jay was very much with Joan. I'm not a Jay expert, but I can't really recall any other love interest for Jay. And again, you have Joan was a reporter, Iris was a reporter, and those were like those long-term commitments. And Wally is kind of brushing up against all of that. So he's only a man, apparently. The next morning during training, Flash asks Wise and Sage if the Wise and Sage asked Lin May to visit him last night. Wise and Sage is shocked and orders Flash to take them back to the house. That was not Lin May. Back at the palace, Baron lays down another vivid descriptor. The guard lies just inside, torso ripped open like an overripe tomato. As they enter the courtyard, the voice attacks. His battle cry is a guttural Hong. Like, you have to see this onomatopoeia. Flash is no match for Voice's black aura. Wise and Sage, in order to save the Flash, charges through the air, burying his sword into the Voice's head. Unfortunately, he lands on the Voice's thigh. Flash wants to whisk him away to the hospital, but the woman posing as Lin May has other ideas. So in a bold splash page, she introduces herself as Dance of the Revolution. She proclaims that Flash must die for helping to kill her brother, the Voice, and for a line with Wise and Sage. I really appreciate seeing Wally's self-doubt here. He goes on to say, I don't understand these people, and I am afraid. Speed is all I know. Speed is all I can do. What would Barry do? So this dialogue, like, it really hits home with how human and how relatable Wally is. Like, he's not a perfect hero. He doesn't have the answers to everything. He's not, even with his speed, like, he's not 12 steps ahead like Batman would be. It just makes him feel really vulnerable at this point. So Wally is still woozy from the Voice's attack when she gets the upper hand and begins to strangle him. It's here that Wally recalls his training, that chi begins in the pit of the abdomen. He tenses up and directs his chi to his neck, making it strong as an oak, surprising the dance. She charges and the Flash strikes, making her believe it is Dim Mak, the death touch. The dialogue feels very, very dramatic here. So, randomly, Marshall Lau then shows up. Last we knew, he was in America, but he shows up stating he is only following the man in red. He says he can tend to the dance's wound. Having no choice, she acquiesces. Meanwhile, the Sage is at death's door and asks Flash to have Marshall Lau come over when he is done. Wally thinks it's possible that the dance is Marshall's daughter, but Marshall says she is not. He then asks Flash for a coin and goes to work on healing the wizened Sage. Once wizened Sage is out of the woods, Marshall Lau tells Wally that he did not use Dim Mak on the dance. He knows this already. It was just a punch, as he hasn't really learned it yet, which makes him feel like the whole trip was a failure. However, and this is where it gets even more crazy, the real Lin May shows up. I'm assuming she was the first one we met, but not the second, who was then the dance, right? And upon seeing Marshall Lau, she says, "Father?" Wizened Sage did not know this. As it turns out, she was separated from her brother years ago, and there was hope that maybe together Marshall and his daughter can find him. So Wally flies back to America. Once home, he remarks how it's been 2 weeks and the tiles in the foyer still aren't finished. Connie warmly greets him, her shoot postponed for a month. She had a photo shoot that she was supposed to do for Pawns and apparently got postponed. The couple head upstairs so Wally can unpack before they head out to dinner. But Connie calls him impatient. Go figure. Breaking the fourth wall, Wally winks at the reader and states, "But I'm lucky." And that is the first Flash annual for Wally West. We made it, guys. We made it. So, before we get to some overall thoughts, this issue had a letters page, which is not something that's on like the digital DC Universe Infinite, but we'll take a quick look at it. It opens up with a letter from Mike Gold, the writer. The response, the editor, Mike Barron's the writer. Mike Gold goes on to say, the response to our new Flash series has been so overwhelming that we've been prompted to do something that I'm going to start over. The response to our new Flash series has been so overwhelming that we've been prompted to do something that I think never has been done before. You are now holding the first all-new Flash annual in your hands, and the annual is out before the ongoing comic book is even a half year old. Mike, Jackson, Larry, and I thank you for your support and for your mail. We've read all your letters, yes, all of them, and decided to give you the best of the best. That way we could get the greatest number of letters into print. And to save space this time, we are not running street addresses. So the letters page follows. It's 2 pages. They definitely not only not print the address, but they also, just kind of do some highlights from the letters. get a comment about how the DC Universe McDonald's franchise must be very happy indeed. That's Michael Walker from Lansing, Michigan. Kevin Bradshaw from St. Louis says, "Dear Mike and staff, with Wally's appetite, I don't think that $1,000,000 will last very long." I mean, it's 1987. It might. 2024, not so much. Couple people Vandal Savage is new for them, which I found interesting. Craig D. Smith of Hollywood, California writes, "Dear Mike, my only suggestion would be to bring back Wally West's conservative political leanings as shown in the new Teen Titans. This really made Wally unique in the DC universe." To which they replied, "Haven't seen the Hawk issues of Spotlight, have you?" We had some complaints about the lettering, which is a thing. Jordan B. Gorfinkel from Boston, Massachusetts says, "Dear Mr. Gold, Flash is back. My life is made. Flash is off and running. The book looks promising because the series does not burn itself out in the first issue." He gives further compliments and says, "I have confidence that the honor of the Flash is in good feet." And Mike Gold replies, "Good feet. I get it. Good feet." I point out Jordan Gorfinkel in particular because he later becomes was his assistant editor on the Batman line, I think. I just remember him doing letter columns and signing them off as Gorf. So he becomes one of those people that wrote letters to DC and then later goes to work for him, like this little indie guy named Jeff Johns. I don't know if you've heard of Jeff Johns, but he used to be a Flash letter writer back in the day, back during this era. So Anthony Puglisi says, "Dear Mike, number 350 or bust." So yeah, there's quite a few, there's a variety of comments, most of them positive. And then we get to the next issue box, where this month in Flash number 4, which would be our last episode, the Kilgores got the drop on Flash, and it'll take the abilities of two mighty titans to save the planet. Cyborg teams up with his former teammate in an all-out fight to the finish. And next month in Flash number 5, which will be our next episode, Wally faces his father, his girlfriend, her estranged husband, and the super steroid power of the Speed Demon. It's been a great 4 months. Again, thanks for all your letters, all several hundred of them, Mike Gold. So that is the first Flash annual. What do I think? It's not, like I said, it's not my favorite of the annuals. Overall, I think Geist does his usual fine job. There's some really interesting panels. There's some backward Flash logos that are my pet peeve, but what are you going to do? It's how it was in this era. It's just the story just seems like it's not, it doesn't line up with where it was published. And like I said, it's very much, I don't know, it's hard to like Wally sometimes during these early issues, and this kind of felt like one of them. Like I said, his attitudes about women in the beginning are definitely very naive and out of date. And oh my God, if Linda could read them, like she would just. But overall, like this is a Wally who's still, he's not the fastest. But it was kind of interesting that he was trying to add to his arsenal and gain some kind of control. And it's just kind of the start of, him trying to fill Barry's shoes and become his own person, and with lots and lots of screw-ups along the way. But here we are. We're done with it. Again, it just, I don't know. It's not my favorite story. Although I think that Baron has some great dialogue and great narration. I don't know. It's just been this weird road hump for me in life these last 6 months, and so I'm glad to kind of be over it and to get moving on, because now we're really starting to pick up. We're really starting to pick up speed. No pun intended. especially with this next arc with the Speed Demon. That's going to have some major ramifications for at least the first almost, well, I was going to say at least the first 50 issues. But then it goes even beyond that because we get established with some characters that are going to pop up intermittently for a long time to come. And it's definitely going to inspire stuff on the CW Flash TV show. So I'm excited to get here. I hope I didn't lose you guys with the delay. I promise to do better. And that's where we're at right now. So be on the lookout. Hopefully we'll get the next episode up and done soon. Review for this guy. I may do a couple other things just showing off some of the Flash collection stuff, some of the art pieces I have when they're not falling off the walls because I haven't properly affixed them to the walls. And we're just going to have fun because it's an interesting time to be a Flash fan right now. The movie's come and gone almost a year, and we don't know what his big screen or small screen presence is going to be in the DCU going forward. But, right now we've got so many Flash books between the main Flash and the Speed Force book. The Jerry Garrick book just wrapped up. So lots of Speed Force stuff coming your way. But that's all I've got for this time. My name is Javi Trujillo, and now you are up to speed with Wally West. Take care.